Testing, testing. All right, manual for Engineman, 444 ton diesel electric locomotive. This is a GE book. Manual man, engine man, manual for engine man, 44 ton diesel electric locomotive, serial number 30132 and above. The alcohol diesel electric or American Locomotive Company, General Electric Locomotive Company. Subject: how the diesel functions, diesel electric functions, general data, engine man positions, control compartments, gauge panel, locomotive operation, automatic alarm, safeguards, air brake operation, multiple locomotive operations under unusual conditions. All right, you got your fuel. Here's Casey with the fuel going and or engine generators. How diesel electric locomotive works. Um, Operation diesel electric locomotive. The diesel engine supply mechanical power for the generators converted with electrical power driving traction motors geared with the axles. Each engine generator is independent with the supplying power for the motors in one track. The output and speed locomotive is governed by the moving of the throttle back and each of the power plants operating through the permanence of the more flowing for the engine which speed of delivery more power generators. Thus, the traction motors electric control automatically regulate the electrical output, meet the verifying conditions of the track and trailing load. Alright, here is your 44-ton GE freight train, weight of in working order 88,000 pounds, weight of drivers fully loaded 89,000 pounds. Maximum overspeed 35 miles per hour. Maximum curve locomotive alone 50-foot radius. Fuel tank capacity 250 gallons U.S. gallons. Lubricating oil capacity per gallon 50 U.S. gallons. Cooling water capacity 40 U.S. gallons. Sandbox capacity total 8 cubic feet. And interactive effort starting at 30% adhesion at 26,400 pounds. Alright, back out of this one step. Alright, 1 is your headlight weight, winter front, lube oil, headlight 1, 2, winter front, 3, lube oil cooler, 4, radiator, engine air tank, 5, 6 is exhaust muffler, 7 is kerosene tank, 8 is the air horn, 9 is the control compartment forward and forward, number 10 is the control compartment rear, 11 resistor panel, 12 engine shutdown cable, 13 diesel engine, 14 antifreeze filler pipe, 15 gear unit only level plug, 16 gear unit drain plugs, 17 lube oil tank and tank drainer, 18 cool water filling funnels and drains, 19 traction motor and gear unit, 20 side bearing, 21 side bearing, diesel engine upper sump drain, 22 diesel engine lower sump drain, 23 lube oil filter drain, 24 lube oil filter drain, 25 traction generator, 26 fuel oil filling pipe, 27 exciter auxiliary generator, 28 batteries, 29 reverser, 30 is a fuel oil tank sump drain, 31 air compressor, 32 valve, 33 fuel oil filter, 34 brake rigging, 35 engine water heater, diesel engine water manifold drain plug, 37 center plate filling pipe, 38 lube oil tank filling pipe, 39 lube oil tank, 40 general box, 41 traction motor air intake box, 22 sandbox. Figure 2 shows the location of the apparatus and fillers and drains and dimensions. Okay, we started at 1 and it comes around the clockwise. Alright, your engine man's position. 1 is the throttle handle. 2 is the reverser 2 is the reverser handle. 3 is the automatic brake valve handle. 4 is the independent brake valve handle. 5 is the gauge. 6 is the horn valve handle. 7 is the shutter control handle. 8 is the window wiper valve. 9 is the bell wringer valve. 10 is the sander valve. 11 is the cab heater. 12 is the cab heater shutoff valve. 13 is the cutout cock of the sander and bell pipe wringer. 34 is the cutout cock of the window wiper and horn. 15 is the double-headed cutout cock. Alright, figure 4 shows the Engineman position, multiple unit locomotive, 1 throttle handle, 2 reverser handle, 3 automatic brake valve handle, 4 independent brake valve handle, 5 gauge panel, 6 horn valve handle, 7 engine indication light, 8 window wiper valve, 9 bell ringer valve, 10 sander switch, 11 cab heater, 12 cab heater shutoff valve, 13 cutout cock for bell ringer, 14 cutout cock with window wiper horn, 15 3-position cutout cock. Alright, control compartments. Figure 5 shows the forward control compartment. 1, auxiliary generator contactor A1. Exciter field, the contactor EFI 1. Reverser contact relay RC1. Time delay relay TD fuses, control circuit breaker, auxiliary circuit breaker. Number 1, exciter field switch. Number 1, motor cutout switch CO101. Number 2, motor cutout switch CO02. Feed valve, reducing valve, throttle control switch, battery switch voltage control relay, motor line contactor, engine starting contactor. Then you get your control compartments over here with the rear control compartment. 1, the auxiliary generator A21, exciter field contactor EF21, reverser current relay RC2, fuses. Number 2, exciter field. Number 3, motor cutout switch CO3. Number 4, motor cutout switch CO4, voltage control relay X21, motor line contactors P34, P and 3 and P and 4, field shunting relay FS, field shunting dropout relay CR, engine starting contactor GS21. Alright, figure 7, gauge panel, oil pressure, temperature. Number 1 is the oil pressure gauge. Number 2 is the water temperature engine for engine number 2. Battery voltmeter, water temperature engine number 1, 4. Oil pressure engine number 1, 5. Control switch, 6. 7 cab heater switch, 8 cab light switch, 9 front headlight switch, 10 rear headlight switch, 11 gauge light switch, 12 class marker lights and switch. 12 headlight and bright dim switch, 14 front headlight bright and dim switch, number 15 number 1 engine start button, number 16 number 2 engine starting button, 17 load indicator generator number 1, 18 brake cylinder brake pipe air gauge, 19 main reserve equalizer reserve air gauge, and 20 load indicator generator number 2. Alright, locomotive operation, preparation for operation. Check the supply for the lubricating fuel, oil, and cooling water sand. Inspect the engine generator with the control compartment to waste for the tools that may have inadvertently left near moving parts with electrical connections. Make sure all the switches are open. Reverse the handle into neutral, throttle into idle. Set the double heading of the brake pipe 3-position cutout cock handle located under the brake valve is horizontally cut in position. Starting the diesel. Alright, close the battery switches and control switches. Close the control circuit breaker. Push the start button for the number 1 engine. Hold it until the engine firing regularly. Then release button when lubricating oil gauges to see that the pressure is built up. Note that on the locomotives equipped with multiple unit operation necessary to build the triangle handle marked pole when starting the engine. At the same time, engine start button is pushed. The handle refers to the emergency engine shutdown features inoperative should be based on use and permit such engines. Hold this handle until the engine lubrication oil pressure has come up into normal value. The release of the handle starting button may be released as soon as the engine is firing regularly. Repeat number 3 for the start button. Number 2. Note that in cold weather it may be necessary in advance to throttle the throttle beyond the idle position to use the engine water heater. See engine water heater. Caution: never press the engine start button while the engine is running. Also, never press the engine start button at the same both engine start buttons at the same time. Locomotive operation, preparation for the moving of the locomotive. Always engines the idle water when the temperature reaches 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Main reserve air pressure builds up between 100 and 140 130, 140 pounds. Note that the build up of the air pressure quickly after the engine is warmed. Advance with the throttle, giving them 3/4 of the full engine speed. Return the throttle to the idle position when the air pressure is pumping. Operate with the air brakes to see if the shoe. Apply and release. 3. Observe the operation of the belt-driven machines with the equipment to see that the functioning properly. 4. Close the auxiliary circuit breaker if the lights on the cab heater are to be used. 5. See the battery is being charged and indicate with the battery voltmeter. 6. Provide proper ventilation for the diesel engine, adjusting winter with the fronts from the opening and closing roof hatches. See the power plant ventilation temperature control. Engine idling. Prolonged idling, especially speeding with the unload engine, will cause poor combustion. The result of the excessive formation of the carbon on the injector tips contributes to lubrication and dilution. Moving in the locomotive, make an independent air brake application, releasing the handbrake. Test the forward and reverse standing. Place the throttle in idle. Move the reverse handle for the desired direction of the movement. Release for the air brakes. Open the throttle handle just out of the idle position. Wait for the slack to be taken. The advance of the throttle steady, rapidly desired with the slipping point of the wheel through the movements. Be smooth and continuous. Do not jerk through the throttle back and forth after the locomotive is accelerated at the desired speed. Ease back of the throttle to the point where the speed is maintained. 7. When starting with the ascending of the grade, do not release the brakes at the front throttle handle, but advances sufficiently to prevent the drifting of the backward. Locomotive operation number 8: do not exceed the speed of 35 miles per hour. 9. If the power of the locomotive move throttle idle, apply with the brakes. Load indicator. If the load indicator is actually an ammeter with a special dial marked with on the bands of green, yellow, and red instead of the amperes. The color is prevented with the given approximate indication with the characteristics of the surface of the locomotive can be used without overheating the electrical equipment. The indicator pointer when it is green indicates that the load is safe and also class as service. The indicator pointing with the yellow band that the load is safe for switching and short runs is transferred with the haulage. If the indicator pointed with the red band indicates that the load is safe only for switching and starting. Stopping locomotive, moving the throttle handle to idle, apply the brakes, move the reversal handle with neutral, and that's how you stop the locomotive. Move the throttle handle to idle, apply the brakes, or move the reversal handle to neutral. Note that if the power can be removed from the traction motor by moving the throttle with the idle, open the control circuit and the breaker with the control switch. Reversing the loader, bring the locomotive to a full stop, never reverse the locomotive while it is in motion. Locomotive operation. Move the reverse handle with the opposite direction. 3. The release of the brakes on the opposite open throttle. Stopping the diesel. Move the throttle to the idle position. Pull the button to the marked engine stop. Hold it until the engine comes to a stop. Repeat for the second engine. Leaving the locomotive. Open all the switches and circuit breakers. Remove the reverse handle to the neutral position. Set the handbrake. Open the main battery switch. Close all the doors, ventilators, windows. Make sure that the winter front and roof shutters are closed. If the danger is freezing, draining the entire cool watering system. Be sure that sufficient antifreeze is protected against lower anticipated temperatures. See Figure 2. Engine water heater. Locomotives operating with the cold climates provided with the heater of the water up in the engines by starting. The diesel no ignition system depends upon the developing compression to make it fire. Therefore, after the periods of shutdown cold weather where the engine has cooled down air temperature, the danger is completely discharging the battery with the continued cranking before the cylinders get warm enough to fire. To guard against the condition of the heater, it's provided with the purpose of warming up the cooling water with the engine jacket. To start the kerosene type heater, proceeding as follows. Make certain that there is sufficient kerosene in the supply tank. Apply the valve between both the bottom of the water heater and engine water jacket. Thermostat shut off water circulation to the radiator. Alright, locomotive, that was continue with the engine water heating part number 3. Step number 3, start the heater lighting the wick, adjust the clear blue flame, readjust necessary after the heating of the heater is warmed up to avoid smoking. Make sure that the safety triple lever, the floating chamber is down. Position the lever should stay in the down position whenever the heater is in operation. 4, do not attempt to start the engine when the heater is operated. Sufficient time of the engine cylinder block is warm to touch. 5, engine starts after the engine starts, shut down the heater and close the valve on the line between the bottom of the water heater and the engine water jacket. Your power plant ventilation and temperature control. The engine cab is divided into two compartments: the diesel engine compartment and the traction generator compartment. Air ventilation of the traction generator enters the louvers of the main cab and subcase and passes all out through the opening of the engine cab adjacent to the generator. Air for the ventilating diesel engine is drawn throughout the adjustable winner of the front of the end of the engine cab, pass through the adjustable shutters in the roof of the engine cab. The circulation of the air engine compartment can be controlled by the levers located in the main cab. When operating one of both of the shutters of the roof of the engine can depend on maximum load be hauled by the outside temperature. This latches should require infrequent attention, since better control for the much minor variations. Cooling water temperature may be had in an adjusting winner front of the engine end of the engine cab. Alright, overheating of the engine. Do not start immediately after a hard run. Circulation of the water depends on circulation pump. When the engine is shut down, the pump also stops. The iron masses in any engine pulling full load absorb sufficient heat to boil the water and current stop, and the circulation stops. Let the engines idle for 5 minutes before shutting them down. If for any reason the water supply has failed, do not turn water into the cylinders until they have become cool. The cylinder heads are liable to crack if they have become too hot or water is too hot and water is turned into them. Alright, battery charging equipment. The auxiliary generator supply for the control and lighting load of the charging of the batteries. Battery charging equipment for each of the power plant consists of the auxiliary generator, belt driven from the main generator, the voltage control relay, and the reverse control current relay. Engine starting equipment. Each diesel engine is started with a traction motor running with the motor with the storage battery power with the generators wound with the series of field starting winding of the press of the start button closed with the engine started with the contactor which contacts the battery with the winding of the traction generator. Main circuit. The main circuits for each of the power plant include the following equipment: traction generator, traction motors, contactor for the connection of the traction generator, and traction motors, and a reverser for the changing of the direction of the traction motor fields. Maximum engine utilization obtained with the connecting field shunting resistor at parallel in the traction motor field. The high locomotive speeds. Locomotive operation generator field. Generator shunt is excited with the belt driven excited with the exciter, and the characteristics will enable the generator to drive the full output of the engine and the traction motor over the wide range of locomotive speeds. Alright, your V-belt drives. The auxiliary generator with the air compressor driven with the V-belts with the pulley and the main generator shaft adjustment of the belt tension to provide with moving the air compressor around its base, which changes the distance between the pulley generator of the radiator fan driven by the V-belts with the pulley with the front of the engine crankshaft. Screw arrangement is used to belt tighten to obtain the desired adjustments. Before to the engine instruction, a fairly accurate guide will determine the correct tension to make an adjustment so that the belts can be pressed about 1 to 1 and 1/2 inches by applying the finger pressure at the point midway between the pulleys. Inspection during operation. Correction of the minor irregularities reported for each of the end of the run was usually averted with the major repair later. Watch the level of the oil and water. Once a shift make a visual inspection with the running gear for the loose dragging parts. Investigate unusual noises, orders immediately. Overheated journal boxes will smoke and smell, and they will happen. And when this happens, stop the locomotive, open the cover, and let the journal box cool. Loosen the wasting, remove the charred waste, remove the maintainer and the maintainer for correction. Alright, truck troubles are usually evidence of the jar and vibrations. On such occasions, look for broken springs in the motor suspension on the truck, excessively worn, or the center plate, badly shelled, worn, chipped wheels, badly worn or poor lubricated, broken gear teeth, which will cause clatter in the gear cases. Emergency stop may cause the flat spots, shelling on the wheels, and brake shoes should be reported for maintainer for the correction. Alright, gauges and instruments. Normal lubricating oil pressure when the gauge is warm is between 30 to 35 pounds. Pressure of the lost in the engine during the multiple operation of the engine, indicating the gauge panel will out of the both units. Cooling water temperature should be between 160 degrees Fahrenheit and 180 degrees Fahrenheit during the multiple unit operation of the engine, indicating will go out with the both units for the water temperature engine exceeds 190 degrees Fahrenheit. If the battery voltmeter should charge while the engine is running, if it shows the continual discharge reporting the maintainer with the correction of the battery voltmeter on the gauge panel show over the voltage out in the battery circuit. When the need if it's is in the first wrong red band indicates that the battery is bad condition being discharged. Report the maintainer correction that the needle with the prolonged indicated lower than red band of the dial. When the needle is in the white band while the engine is running, it indicates that the battery is either in a low state or charged or being discharged. The normal out opening disk circuit voltage on a 32 cell battery is 64 volts while the engine shut down in no load battery. When the needle is in the green band, it indicates that the battery is receiving normal charge. Note that the pointer may be either in the white band just below the green for a short time after the engine has been started. When the engine is in the red band beyond the green band, it indicates the battery is being overcharged. Report on the condition of the maintainer. Air brake pressure should be in accordance with the customer standards. Locomotive operation, double heading single unit locomotive. On a second locomotive, multiple double heading brake pipe cutout cock handle or to a cutout position with the handle vertical parallel with the brake valve pipe. Leave the independent automatic brake valve handling in the running position. Brake on. The second locomotive will operate with those in the train. The operation of the second locomotive can prevent the brake application and release of brakes on the locomotive by removing the independent brake valve with the release position and backing it into the running position. This should be done only if the wheels slide. Double heading multiple unit locomotive. On second locomotive by the 3-position brake pipe cutout cock handle located under the brake valve, the vertical intermediate position. Leave the intermediate and automatic brake valve handles in the running position. Brake on the second locomotive will then operate as those in the train. The operator on the second locomotive can prevent a brake application or release the brakes on the locomotive by moving the independent brake valve to the release position. Back to the running position. This should be done only if wheels slide. Alright, moving single unit locomotive dead. Move the throttle handle to idle, place the reverse handle in neutral, open the circuit breaker switch and include the battery switch. Move the double heading brake pipe cutout cock handle are located under the brake valve or to the cutout position handle vertical parallel brake valve pipe. Open the dead end fixture located near the distributing valve. Turn the handle to the right angle with the pipe. Close all the doors, ventilators, windows. If there's a danger of freezing, drain the entire cooling water system of being sure that there's sufficient antifreeze to protect against low anticipated temperatures. See Figure 2. No, do not exceed 35 miles per hour speed limit if the hull is long and have maintainer pull pinions from the traction motors. Alright, movement of multiple unit locomotive dead. Move throttle idle position, place the reverse handle in the neutral position, open the circuit breakers, all switches including the battery switch. Move the 3-position brake pipe out to the cock handle located under the brake valve to its extreme clockwise position. Do not do this if necessary to pull. To do this, it is necessary to pull out the spring-loaded stop pin until the handle can be moved into the stop lug. Open the dead engine fixture located in the distributing valve. Turn the handle into the horizontal position. Close all doors, ventilators, windows. If necessary, the danger of freezing the drain entire cooling water system. Be sure that there is sufficient antifreeze to protect against low anticipated temperatures. See Figure 2. Note: do not exceed 35 mile an hour speed limit if the hull is long and maintainer pull pinions from the traction motor. Okay, all right. Automatic alarms and safeguards, engine shutdown devices on multiple unit locomotive. The engine indicating light will be on. The engines are running. The cooling water temperature is below 190 degrees Fahrenheit. The locomotive are connected with the multiple light will go with the both units in the engine shutdown due to the low lubricating oil pressures. High cooling water temperature is encountered with any of the engine. Pull down marked by the engine stop. Automatic shutdown devices do not stop the engine. If the emergency fuel trip handle is pulled in either locomotive cab or under the right side of the platform, it will shut off the fuel at the tank and stop the engine after the supply lines have been exhausted. Alright, circuit breakers. One circuit breaker is used to protect each of the following. 1, control circuits. 2, the auxiliary circuits. They are located with the forward compartment. See Figure 5. They operated with the same manner with the tumbler switch. The handle in which the center position indicates that the breaker has been tripped by the short circuit with the overload by the shock, and the reset with the reverse button. First moving handle approximately 2 degrees between the off position, then by the on position. Fuses. The following fuses are located with the control compartment: a 1 60 ampere fuse for the main battery circuit, 2 the 35 ampere fuses on each battery charging circuit, and 2 4 ampere fuses on one on each battery charging circuit. Alright, the air brake operation. Using the air brakes. Figure 8 shows the air brake handle, then the independent brake valve brake upper, which is a release, independent brake upper, automatic brake lower, and then it shows the running, the holding, the lap, the service, and emergency portion of the automatic brake valve. Following instructions cover the proper method of handling the 14EL equipment of the service, but do not apply originally in individual cases. The conditions, special instructions, usually issued by each of the railroad to cover its over recommended practices in accordance with the local operating conditions. Operating with the 14EL air brake equipment is practically the same as the 6ET equipment used on the steam locomotives. The automatic brake valve applies the brakes on both locomotive and the train. The independent brake valve applies the brakes only on the locomotive unless the brake application is desired. Carry on both brake handles in the running position. See Figure 8. Charging train brake system. When normal minimum reservoir pressure of the train brake system can be charged, leaving the automatic brake valve handle in the running position, farther charging the accomplished holding the automatic brake valve handle in the release position until the brake pipe gauge shows that the desired pressure has been obtained. When using the release position for charging, watch the brake pipe gauge and do not overcharge the system. Normal automatic brake application. Move automatic brake valve handle in the service position. This gradually reduces the brake pipe pressure and applied with the brakes. The brake application is proportional with the reduction of the brake pipe pressure up to the certain limit of the brake pipe is obtained. When an efficient rate of the brake is obtained with making the automatic brake handle the lap position, the brake pressure is maintained with all brakes as long as the handle remains in the position. If then additional the braking is required, moving the handle back to the service position into the lap and then to the lap when the brake rate reaches the desired amount. The emergency automatic brake application. Move the handle to emergency position. This will give the quickest, heaviest application of the brakes. Release the automatic brakes. Move the automatic brake handle in the holding position. This will release the train brakes and but keep the locomotive brakes applied. Never depend on the air brakes to hold the locomotive on a grade where the air compressor is shut down. Move the handle to the running position to release both the train and locomotive brakes. 3. If only a partial release is required, the movement of the brake handle from the back to the lap. When required amount release is obtained with the long trains with the brake release, the recharge with the train brake system can be accelerated, moving the handle in the release position for the short time before the moving the handle in the holding of the running position. Note that holding the handle in the release position for a short time only authorizes the train brake system may be overcharged. The automatic brake valve will hiss when the release position is to warn the operator. During the switching services, the likely occasion to the use of the release position. Application of locomotive brakes only. Move the independent brake valve to slow applications or quick applications depending on the rate of the brake application required. Do not use the independent brake to stop a long train. When sufficient rate with the brake is obtained, move the independent brake valve. Handling the lap position rate will be held, and additional braking is required. Move the handle to the application position, then back to the lap. Release of the locomotive brakes only. Move the independent brake handle to the running position to release the locomotive brakes that have been applied by an independent brake application. 2. Locomotive brakes applied with the automatic brake handle can be released by moving the independent brake handle to the release position. This position can also be released with the independent application faster rate than the running position. Note, not handling the release position more than the monetary overcharged locomotive system. Locomotive brakes cannot be applied with the automatic brake valve handle spring return, preventing the leaving of the independent brake valve release position and the air escape from the independent brake valve handle to the warm operator. Alright, locomotives in the following instructions are referred to as controlled locomotives or controlling locomotives. The locomotive from the operator control of the locomotive is called the controlling locomotive. Locomotive which is not controlled by an operator in the cab is called the controlled locomotive. Alright, preparation for operation. Starting the engine in each of the locomotives described in the starting of the diesel engine. Couple the locomotive, set the handbrakes on the locomotive, make air and electrical connections between the locomotive. Note that diesel engines may left running while making air and electrical couplings if the reverse handle is in neutral. 5. Remove the reverse handle of the brake valve handles from the controlled locomotive. 6. On the controlled locomotive, move the 3-position brake pipe cutout cock handle or located under the brake valve in the vertical intermediate position of the controlling locomotive. Move the 3-position brake pipe out of the cutout cock handle in horizontal cutting in position. Moving locomotives. Observe all of the gauges and indicators, making such sure that each of the power plant is operating properly and perceived the same as the signal for the unit of the operation. The engine indicating light with each of the locomotive will go off and the engine shutting down. The high water temperature occurs when either locomotive during the multiple unit operation. Alright, more occasionally, inspection control locomotive may be necessary and adjust the winter front with the rear shutter of the control engine cooling the water temperature. Operation for unusual conditions. The operation with one of the power plant only. Shut down the effective power of the plant only with the respective exciter field with the motor cutout switches. Carries should be taken and avoided between the heavy drags. Be taken the proper precautions to prevent water from shutting down the engine from freezing. On locomotives equipped with multiple unit operation, necessary to pressing the reset button. Rotate the reset knob project for the pressure switch case, which prevents the alarm system from operating because of the low lubricating oil pressure from the shutdown engine. This pressure switch from the parts for the engine shutdown an alarm feature. This is located on the right side of the diesel engine from near the 3-unit oil filter. Operating with the motors cut out. If in case of the trouble making it necessary to cut out the traction motors, the motor cutout switch for the defective motor should be opened. The motors are numbered from the end of the locomotive marked with F, Z figure 5 and 6 for the location of the cutout switches. Avoid pulling heavy load of operating with the throttle fully open when any of the motors are cut out. If the motors are number 1 or 3 are cut out, the load indicator will give no indication. Note, if the operator locomotive with the traction motors cut out with only an emergency, passing through the water. Do not exceed 2 to 3 miles per hour. There is over when water is over the rails. Never operate the locomotive through the water that is more than 4 inches above the rail head. Passing over the railroad crossings. Partially close the throttle before reaching the crossing. This will reduce the traction motor current with minimizing arcing the motor commutators as the wheels are jar over the crossing. Alright, operating under unusual conditions. Engine does not start over when starting button is pressed. Battery and control switch of the control circuit breakers open. Start the contractor of the GS1 and GS2 may not close due to the electrical control connections being poor. Check the connections of the starting button operating with the coil starting contactor, exciter field contactor, interlocks, control circuit breaker. Battery fuse may be blown. Battery may be in low state of charge. 5. Main circuit connection may be loose or broken, or generator starting field windings may be defective. Engine turns over but does not fire. Insignificant fuel supply. Emergency fuel shutoff may be closed. Fuel lines may be airbound. Prime them. See the engine instructions. 4. Fuel filter or strainer may be plugged. And 5. Fuel lines may be broken or fouled. Alright, your locomotive does not move with the engine running on and throttle open. Brakes may not be released. Line contactors P1, P2, P3, and P4 may not be closing during the poor electrical connections or because the motor cutout switches are open. 3. The main circuit electrical connections may be poor. Checking the reverse and line contactor contacts. Traction generator excitation not building up due to the exciter field cutout switches open or broken slipping belts. Right, locomotive moves slowly. Brakes may not be fully released. All motor cutout switches may be in the closed position, and the traction generator may not be delivering full power should the check the extension exciter belt tension. Locomotive stays at a low speed. Motors may be transferring from full field to reducing field. Call the maintainer for corrections. Alright, operation under usual conditions. Engine stops. Fuel supply exhausted. Emergency fuel shutdown may be closed. Fuel filter strainer may be plugged. Fuel line may be broken or fouled. Faulty governor or throttle linkage. Call maintainer. 6 piston or bearing may be seized. Checked by the bearing engine. Over 7 on multiple unit locomotives due to locomotive lubricating oil pressure, high cooling, water temperature. Engine overheats. Water is low. Check the leaks for refilling and permitting an engine to cool. Roof shutters and window front not open sufficiently. Loose fan belts, radiators plugged, either water or air passages. Blown or water worn out lubricating oil cooler and plugged, either oil or air passengers. Battery does not change battery and battery or battery charge circuit fuse blown. Improperly adjusted voltage control relay called maintainer. Locomotive does not reverse. Wire to operating coil magnet valve may be loose and push magnet valve pin or reconnect wire. Or your air pressure does not build up, main reservoir, drain valve, and brake pipe angle cock open, compressor governor stuck open, trying to tapping it. Compressor to unloader valve is stuck open, call the maintainer, slipping of the broken compressor valve, tighten and replace belts. Alright, air pressure builds up slowly, long train to charging, advanced throttle is approximately one half the full throttle, slipping compressor belts, tighten belts, 3 broken pipe or loose fittings. Brakes reapply after regular release. 1. Brake pipe is overcharged. Make partial brake application. Return handle to the running position. 2. Faulty feed valve. Call the maintainer. Brakes hold after release position application. Brakes hold after a release application. Brake pipe undercharged and faulty distribution valve. Low brake pipe. Braking power, too much brake cylinder piston travel, too faulty piston, 3 warm brake shoes, 4 low brake cylinder pressure, 5 broken brake cylinder pipe. Or your brake cylinder pressure is too high, feed valve is distributing valve stick, and the call maintainer sanders do not work. Wet or dirty sand, refill the box with clean and dry sand, not kinked hose and pocket in the hose. Clean out the straightened block and sand pipe, block sand pipe, cleaned out pipe, broken sanders report to maintainer. Alright, that concludes your manual for the Engineman of a 44-ton diesel electric locomotive series. American Locomotive Company, General Electric, American Locomotive Company, and General Electric Locomotive Company. I'm done.